Welcome to the Cook Sean Marks podcast with me and my co-host John from Everything BK Nets. John, going to spend the next hour plus absolutely roasting. We're going to kick up a 7-course meal here on Sean Marks. The incompetence is staggering. Nothing is going to get done. The Nets are winning. They're 17-33. John, before I get too far into the weeds here, introduce yourself and just give us your thoughts on last night's game first. We'll start with last night's game briefly, and then we'll get into Sean Marks and the trade deadline.
Of course, and it's only one more day to the trade deadline, so buckle up. Gary, always fun to talk good basketball with you. Tell me always to talk fun basketball with me. Follow me on my Twitter at OS91413John. Yeah, I mean, last night, again, another hard-fought effort from the team, but just to see the way the game ended, it's like, wow, we're back in 2019. It's D'Lo and a whole bunch of guys nobody ever heard about trying to get a play-in seed, and it's just like, what are we doing here at the end of the day? Like, now we have 17 wins, and everybody's looking at this like this is what the mission always was. This was not what the mission was. I mean, to have 17 wins in a season where nobody expected us to get more than maybe 10, and that's being generous. And I'll be honest with you, after last night's game, after what happened with the Luka thing, I'm over that now. The D'Lo hitting that three is more shocking than Luka Doncic getting traded to the Lakers. I'm going to say that right now. Just because of how important this season is supposed to be for us, and that win last night could have taken us out of top 3. So we are in the Wizard of Oz universe, and unfortunately there's no Auntie M. There's only Sean Marks, and this is his reaction. Like this is the world we are stuck in. So let's cook and let's bring the facts on how bad this is right now.
All right, so yesterday, the Nets are losing. They're close, but they're losing most of the game. They're down 5 with a couple of seconds left. They hit a 3. Keon Johnson dunks the ball. They cut it to 3. Dylan Brooks hits 1 of 2 free throws. They're up by 4. Game looks like it's on ice. They come down. Keon Johnson hits the 3. Makes it a 1-point game. Houston can't inbound the ball. It rolls right out to D'Angelo Russell, who hits a wide open 3. What's up, peoples? It rolls right to D'Angelo Russell, who picks up the ball, hits the game-winning 3. The Nets win. They sweep Houston this season, and they move their win streak to 3. This was a tough to take. It was fun seeing a little D'Angelo magic again, ice water in his veins. But, John, what is the direction of this team at this point? Are we just going to go for the play-in at this point? Are we buyers, actually? Are we going to look to improve?
I have no freaking clue. Like, literally, we have an owner and we have a GM. Unfortunately, there's nobody behind the titles actually doing anything. They're sitting, with their hands in their pockets. And it seems Jordy has now this full autonomy to do whatever he wants. And it's just mind-boggling. A first-year head coach, we traded away those valuable Suns picks for our own picks, and now we're self-destructing our own pick value for reasons I really can't explain. And you look at last night, the only reason that D'Lo had a shot at that 3 was Toussaint Woolman getting that deflection pass. Like, the guy from Walmart is now the reason we're winning games again. Yeah, and his score last night, what did he give you? 14 points plus 7, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. This guy has just been a pest against opposing teams. Like, nobody knows how to game plan for this guy, and his deflection is what was the difference that led to the difference. So it's just unfortunate that we even have to talk about this, because the 17-33 record, what does this do for us? What do these meaningless wins actually get us? A play-in gets you nowhere, and 3/4 of this team will not be here in 3 to 4 years. I feel like we have a GM and owner who don't know what the hell they're doing, and the guy that has the most experience out of the 3 is Coach Jordy, but he's a first-year head coach who doesn't want to tank whatsoever. So if we're not tanking, that means we're probably going to keep Johnson and Claxton and go for a superstar this summer. Because I keep talking about the Giannis Pandora's box. That's what I call it. And if we stay with those 2 guys, not only Giannis, but Zion could be in the conversation this summer. I know a lot of you Brooklyn fans out there don't want to talk about it, but if we're not tanking, like Gary says, we're stuck in hell right now. And if we don't get a top pick, you might have to make a deal with the devil with the Giannis or Zion to get out of the said hellhole.
Well, most likely now, I would imagine with Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson coming back that we're going to shoot for the play-in. I think that's the new goal. We're only – I'll pull up the tank. I'll pull up the standings. Let me pull up the standings. We're only a couple games out. Like, we're not that far out of it because everyone – and, yeah, this will make more sense once I show it. So right now the Bulls are in the 10th seed. We're in the 12th spot. We are 4 games in the loss column behind the Bulls. The Bulls are now tanking. We can make up those 4 games. And I think Sean Marks wants to say, look at this amazing job that I did. And then I think he wants to comp it out to what we did in 2018, 2019. He's going to say, I took a team full of misfits to the playoffs / play-in, and now I'm going to go get a superstar. So I don't think the plan is to tank. I think that has been called off. And I think he's going to try his hardest, just like he did last year, to get the 10 seed. I think he thinks in his brain, if I bring Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas back, just 4 games out, I have a legitimate chance to catch a tank in Chicago and be the 10 seed. We'll still technically get a lottery because we probably won't make the playoff. We'll probably lose in the play-in. So he still gets his lottery pick. And instead of drafting 4, we'll draft 13. I don't foresee what else he's possibly doing here.
This is so confusing because there's nothing worse than a narcissist that always wants to be right. And in Sean Marks' mind, if you know this many times, Gary, he always has to be right. Ben Simmons, a guy who's now on fashion magazine covers yesterday, so Miami culture still on his team, when his salary is the main reason we haven't had no flexibility the last 3 years. If we could have found a way to dump him somewhere and we've attached second-round picks, I would have been fine with that, because if we would have dumped him, we would have been under the luxury more. We could have traded Johnson and Claxton, made this a lot smoother, because Marks wants to keep everybody from the past on this team and make it even tougher on himself. He wants to say, oh, I didn't get no good offers. Nobody want to meet my price. In Mark's mind, every player is worth 2 first-round picks. Dorian Finney-Smith, 1 pick would have been good enough, but he had to settle for D'Lo in seconds, which is now screwing us. And at the end of the day, it feels like we're in 2019 again, like you said. We have D'Lo and a bunch of misfits, but we had no draft picks then. Now you have your own pick, and it's like Marks doesn't realize that. This is what's so dangerous about having him in power. If you're the boss and you have gold, why are you leaving it out for the players to steal from you? That's what it feels like right now. And if this pick turns into Con Knipple with somebody at 9, we're going to be laughed at. And then, yeah, you could go for Giannis, but like me and Gary say, if Giannis is the main guy in the team, what's your depth going to be? And will there be a secondary star to follow that move? And we don't trust Marks to make those moves, because he's shown you the best he can get you is James Johnson, Javon Carter, and Paul Millsap, and we cannot go back there. But like Gary said, what are our options if Marks is deliberately screwing his own tank?
He's not tanking. I firmly believe that we're good. He's good. He's got his direction. So he's not trading Cam Johnson because he wants to make the play-in. He's not trading Nick Claxton because it's Nick Claxton. And I'll give Nick Claxton his flowers. I do this every day, so I'll do it on a good day for Nick Claxton, because they're few and far between. Nick Claxton was a +6 yesterday. That's the first time he's been a plus since I've been doing this. It's about 10 games. So keep that in mind. Good job, Nick Claxton. I think he's not going to trade Claxton because he wants Claxton. He wants to be right. He wants to show that Claxton and Cam Johnson were good signings. And look, they helped us get into a play-in. They helped us get a 10 seed when 9 teams were trying to make the play-in. He tried this last year and it didn't work. He tried to get into the play-in so hard last year. Instead of getting his picks back from Houston, in the Bridges trade, he wanted to make the play-in. He wanted to be right. That Mikal Bridges was a franchise-changing player. That Cam Johnson was good at basketball. He was wrong across the board. Instead of admitting he's wrong, and doing what's best for the team. Last year, we could have traded Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith and got a bare bones minimum of 3 first-round picks. This year, we get no first-round picks and 3 seconds. And we can't trade Cam Johnson.
It's
you
so
guys keep telling me Cam Johnson's good at basketball. The free market keeps telling you otherwise, right? Like, he's not what Sean Marks thinks he is. He's not a franchise-changing player. He's a role player. He's not an all-star. He's not even close to that. He's a guy that sits on the wing and shoots 3. He's Sam Hauser. Take what you can get for him. Just get the contract off the books. You can get 1 first and a bad contract. Just do it. Just get it done. Get him off the team. Get the pick. Get an expiring deal. Cam Johnson, an atrocious contract. Nick Claxton is 10 times worse. Cam Johnson has a role on a team. Nick Claxton shouldn't be on the court. If the Lakers are trying to take him from you, I don't care what they give you. I don't care. Rui Hachimura, done. Good. Just take Nick Claxton. Just have him.
Set in stone.
Just get him off the roster. Get him off the books. He's got 3 years left of this contract that is horrendous. That is like you have $47 million tied up in Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton. You can't compete with that. You can't. That is too much bad money in bad contracts. And that's why I keep saying we're in hell. We have no good players. We have no tradable pieces, and we have bad contracts on the book. Yes, we have draft picks. If you guys think drafting an 18-year-old is going to save your team in the next 4 years, it's not. You could hit. You might get the pick right. But Zion Williamson didn't make the Pelicans a contender. Anthony Davis didn't make the Pelicans a contender. Wemby is not making San Antonio a contender. They needed to go trade for Fox, right? It doesn't work the way you guys think it works. You draft an 18-year-old and then you win. It doesn't work that way. It's gonna be a process, right? And in the NBA, 4 years is an eternity. I don't understand why we aren't A, tanking this year, and then B, looking to get immediately better next year. Like nothing we've done this year makes sense. We started off not tanking. Then we started tanking. And now the tank is apparently off again. I just don't understand this. What is Mark's plan? What is his direction? How does he view this team?
I just want to know what's going on with the owners and players. I feel like these owners have side deals going on, funneling money or something, because there are a lot of weird things going on. The Luka thing feels like that was the iceberg of weird stuff going on. Then you got the Jimmy and Pat Riley testosterone face-off. And now you got a clueless GM and owner who are, like you said, we went from non-tanking because Dennis Schroeder was an all-star for 10 games. Now look at him. He's in a bad situation. And now you fast forward. So we were literally tied with the Hornets from fourth best odds, which could have got us to 3. And then in the span of a week and a half, we're now 6th again. Like, what is going on here? Is there like a side bet going on in that front office we don't know about where they're trying to make money at our expense? It's insane because there's no real logic here. And like you said, Gary, Johnson and Claxton are role players. They're not solid starters. And you gave them both bad contracts. And Johnson's got those incentives. One reason I hear teams are skeptical of putting like 2 picks on the table is because he's got those incentives. And unless they're going to win a title, guaranteed wise, they don't want to make that move. They're willing to settle for a pick. But in Mark's mind, no, I need 2 picks for Johnson. I need 2 for Claxton. Why not divide it? 1 pick for Claxton, 1 pick for Johnson. You got your 2 first. We have 18 picks at that point. But in his mind, he is so bad evaluating talent, like you said. In his mind, I will only settle for 2 picks for a player. Let's do business. Like you can't be a successful businessman if you have the same play every time you go in, whether you're a car salesman or what have you. You have to be flexible. And Marks doesn't know his audience. And that's a huge problem. Like if we make no moves between now and tomorrow and we end the season with like 25 wins, he has to resign at that point. I need a new GM who actually could utilize the picks wisely and set us up on a real game plan where it's 2 to 3 years to contend again. Because it feels like with Marks, every year has been a roller coaster ride. This season particularly was supposed to be extremely predictable. We were supposed to know we're going to be bad. We're supposed to know that coaches can have some gritty wins here or there. And we're supposed to know we're going to have less than 15 wins to get a top pick. And all that was thrown out the window this summer. And that's why you can't trust Sean Marks, because every season is unpredictable and you don't have a set future. And that is a huge problem.
I want to take a look at this real quick. I want to show you guys the schedule to see what I'm looking at. Like Washington, winnable game. Home for Miami with all that turmoil. That's a winnable game. Charlotte, that's a winnable game. Philly, that's a winnable game. So out of your next 4 games, you got 4 very winnable games. If you go 3-1 in that, I'm telling you, he's full force into the play-in. And it's very possible that we beat Washington, and then we beat Charlotte at home, and then we beat either Miami or Philly. Like that I'm not. What I'm saying is not ridiculous. Like they could easily win 3 of those games. If they do so, you've won 6 out of 7. You'll be right in the mix with Chicago. You'll probably be 2 games back at that time, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Sean Marks is going to go full in. That's what I'm saying. The tank is off. He's trying to get into the play-in. He's going to try his hardest to get that 10 seed. Why? I don't know. Chicago doesn't want it. Chicago gets it every year. Ask Chicago how they feel about getting bounced in the play-in every year. Does you no bit of good. But that's where he's at. He wanted to do it last year, didn't he?
This is insane.
He wants the play-in.
The Bulls waited 3 years to finally make a trade to rebuild. We were ahead of them, and if they somehow fall ahead of us in these lottery standings, that is a huge offense, malpractice, what have you, and that can't go on. Like you said, why is Marks going from doing the right thing to doing the wrong thing? All you had to do is do the right thing this year. Listen, none of us ever want to lose games, but in this one season particularly, we're never going to be a top 3 team. We're never going to be a top 5 team. So why would you waste a season away screwing yourself when you could have a shot at a top pick to change your future around? And like Gary says, that guy will not do it alone. You eventually will have to consolidate your picks to get a superstar, pair with that guy. And that's the business. That's why teams want to win. But to go like, oh, it doesn't matter who we draft, just get a Giannis at 31, you have a 4-year window, that guarantees you nothing. And that's Marks' problem. It's easy to throw all your poker chips at a star, but it's everything that goes around it that matters. And Marks is not a man that knows details. He only knows a big picture in his mind, but he doesn't know how to get there. And that's a huge problem.
People says we just beat the Trash Rockets because they have the one of the worst offenses. They're the second seed in the West. I don't think we can call them trash.
Sorry, your dad does. Can't agree with you on that one, buddy. Like, come on. And they're right there with the Grizzlies. And listen, Sengun is a huge part of their piece. Jalen Green, they're going to trade him eventually for a superstar. I think Devin Booker this summer, if the Suns do break this up with KD, I think the Rockets are going to make a pitch for Booker. If you have a Booker and Sengun team, you should be a top 3-4 seed. So I'm not looking at it as like
they're already a 2 seed. They're already the 2 seed in the West. But no way, fellas. This team is not good enough to make the play-in. Look, I don't disagree with you, but everyone else is tanking, and they're doing a better job at it. Chicago's called off the season. So there's a very good chance that they could fall out of that last 10 spot. Then it's only between us and Philly. And Philly is doing a better job of tanking than we are. Like, we may get in there with 26, 27 wins.
We're not supposed to get anywhere near the play-in. We're not.
Someone needs to get that 10th spot, and everyone is trying to hand it off to someone else. They're going to hand it right to the Nets because they don't want it. They want a better lottery pick, better lottery odds, but the Nets don't. Sean Marks wants to make the play-in. He did this last year. This should not be a surprise. We could have traded Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith, and we could have got what am I forgetting? Who did we trade for Dinwiddie?
It was Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, we took Schroeder's contract on.
Yeah.
I mean, we took Schroeder's contract on and didn't trade Finney-Smith and didn't trade Cam Johnson because we wanted to try our hardest to get the 10 seed. Didn't work because we weren't good enough, right? But like, instead of just trading with Houston to get all of your picks back and just reset this thing, Marks had to try to make the play. He had to try to show you that Bridges was an all-star caliber player, that Cam Johnson was a very good player. None of this is true. It's all obvious that it's not true. But Cam Johnson, Sean Marks had to try his hardest to convince everyone that he was right, and he was dead wrong. And he's going to do the same thing this year. The entire fan base wants to lose every game for the most part. There's a handful of people left in the not tank crowd. You go look at Nets Twitter. Everyone wants us to lose every game because we don't have any good players. We have a good head coach, it appears, but we don't have any good players. So what's the best you're going to do? A 10 seed and a first round, a first game loss in the play-in? That's the best you're going to do. What does that do for your franchise? I say absolutely nothing. I don't understand why this is Sean Marks' goal. Why is his goal constantly to be the Chicago Bulls? The Chicago Bulls, who are constantly the 9 or the 10 seed, don't want to be the Chicago Bulls. They don't like the position they're in. Why does Sean Marks want to be in that position?
It makes absolutely no sense. And let's remember, we're in February now. The season ends in like 2 months. We got through these crazy few months because we all knew what the goal was in mind. So if you guys couldn't get through one whole year of doing things the proper way, like Sean Marks can't, and he's the GM of the team, then it shows that we can't go any further with somebody like that because he can't go through one season. It was easy to go through 2016, 2017 when you had no picks, and then you built up something organic. But to not go through one season when you have your own pick, that's the most mind-boggling thing. Don't you want to improve the value of that pick as much as possible and then go into May 12th feeling like, hey, I'm near bottom 4. I have a great shot at getting top 3. Yeah, this was a horrible season, but I have unlimited cap space because I traded Johnson and Claxton away. Ben's off the books. Oh, and I got 31 picks to operate with. I can definitely build a contender in 2 to 3 years, but even doing that right, he can't actually get there because I don't think he understands how to game plan, how to plan year by year. In a step-by-step program. Oh, it's always year by year, but everything is so loosey-goosey. It truly feels like the inmates are running the asylum in Brooklyn. You got Chief Ward and Jordy Fernandez and his inmate players all consolidating together to go against the establishment, and the establishment is not saying or doing anything. And that's a problem. Like, I appreciate what Jordy's doing. He's a great coach. What this guy's doing is fantastic with spare parts. But what is our end result at the end of the day? If you don't get a top 3 pick this year, is another failure going down this route that we're going down, which is there is no direction. We're literally in a circle right now, and that's not going to get you anywhere.
All right, Lou wants to know, how much should we tear this team down to tank? I've said this many, many times. So this is 24-25. After 25-26, going into 26-27, I think there will be one person on this current roster that will be on the team at 26-27. And that's Noah Clowney. I think everyone else will be gone. They don't like Cam Thomas, and there's no other piece that you'd want to have on this team. The only exceptions may be Claxton, because you can't get rid of his contract, but that's not a good reason. If they could get rid of him, they should. But I don't know that you can get rid of Nick Claxton in that contract. So how much should we tear down this team? Everything. Get rid of everything. Keep Cam Thomas, because he's going to have a tradable contract, right? You're going to resign him on a team-friendly deal, because there's no one out there this offseason that has cap space. This is a bad offseason to be a free agent. So resign Cam. They're going to look to move Cam Thomas in the future anyway, probably for a star, Zion or Giannis, something like that. And then everything else is, besides Clowney, what else Tyrese Martin, Reese Beekman, who else on this team? Walmart, who else on this team do you want to keep? So you tear the whole thing down. Look, Lou, if you, whatever you can get for Nick Claxton, just take it. I don't care what it is. Like if you said Kyle Korver, remember Kyle Korver? The Nets drafted him, 2nd round, 51st pick overall. You know what they traded for him, John? You can look this up. This is a fact.
I don't know what they traded
for Kyle Korver.
What they got for him?
A fax machine. That's not cap. They traded him for a fax machine. You can go Google it right now. Kyle Korver was traded for a fax machine. It might have been a copy machine, but it's not really relevant, right?
Right. All I see is a big machine next to him, so you were
Kyle
definitely
Korver
on
was
point.
traded for a fax machine. If you can get a fax machine, it might have been a copy machine. It doesn't matter. If you can get a fax machine for Nick Claxton, and they're willing to take Nick Claxton's contract, just do it. Just get him off the books. He's horrible. He doesn't help you win. He's a losing piece. There's nothing at basketball that Nick Claxton does well. Just get rid of him. Cam Johnson is not going to help you win. Get rid of him.
Right.
Just get rid of him. The contract is, you got $47 million or whatever it is tied up in Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton, and no good players. You can't compete this way. You got to get those contracts off the books.
Mm-hmm. If I was a GM right now, this is very simple. I would trade Claxton to the Lakers right now for Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vince, that 23rd pick. Those guys are expiring contracts next year. I can move them at next year's deadline. Boom, there you go. Johnson, the Spurs are a great team right now. They just got Fox. They got Wemby. They need another solid veteran piece. Let's do Keldon Johnson and a draft pick for Cam Johnson. There you go. I just consolidated 2 of these bad contracts for 2 guys that are expiring, and Keldon Johnson, who could be another tradable asset, and I got 2 firsts out the deal. There you go. And what do you do next? I buy out Ben Simmons. I buy out Bogdanovich. And this is crazy to me. This didn't happen since we did the trade. D'Lo should have been bought out the first chance he was here. Look what he's done in the games he's played. The Bucks, we beat them. And now the Rockets last 2 games, we beat them because D'Lo's playing it. And he's not playing great at some of those games, but he's still being impactful when you need it the most. And that is a problem. If I would have done all those moves as a proper GM, we'd be in a great position to get a top 3 pick. But Mark, for some reason, can't figure this out because it's like playing Candyland in his mind, where these other GMs are playing Monopoly and chess right now. And that's got to change. We can't keep playing this same game and expecting the similar results, because that's all Marks is getting is crappy results.
I wanted to address the Rui Hachimura comment. Rui Hachimura is on a less bad contract, makes less money than Nick Claxton, and he's only got 1 year left on it after this, not 3. So, yes, you trade Claxton for Rui Hachimura because he's a better player. He only makes $18 million next year, and that's it. Then his contract comes up the book. You got Claxton for 3 more years.
It's
Uh,
just a great deal, and you get two guys expiring next year. We could flip those for more assets. It's literally incremental what you're doing there, and it benefits you long term. But Marks doesn't want to take back long term money. Like the demands he made, I want 2 firsts, but I want no long term money whatsoever. How can other GMs work with that? It's like I'm benefiting you, but I could screw myself in a way, and there's no safety nets. You have to take back at least one bad contract, and maybe we'll give you a second protected pick. But Marks is like, no, I need the 2 firsts. No expiring, no contracts with years on them. They have to be expiring. Like, how can people negotiate with somebody that is unnegotiable?
Lou, I don't think if we're tanking this year, we're doing a really bad job at it. Like
One of the
really
most
bad,
horrible tanks I've ever seen
historically
in my
bad.
life.
So
One of the most.
we're not tanking. It appeared that we were for a while when they were sitting everybody. Like when I went to the games about a month ago, but that's off. They're trying to win games.
I just don't get it. We were literally a half a game away from 4th best odds, would have put us in a chance to get 3. Now we're at 6 with it's February, we have March and a little bit of April to make up all that ground when all these other teams now are just full on tanking, like Gary's saying. How can we catch up to? We were right there. We screwed ourselves for no reason. And I don't know if Marks thinks we could catch up after this. No, you can't. You were right there and you tripped over your own wire. Like, how can this happen? This is mind-boggling right now. Like, this feels like an elementary school kid running the organization and not a grown man.
They were just within a game and a half of being 4 and about 2 games. They were right there with Charlotte and New Orleans. It was getting really, really tight with those 3 teams. And now we've just gone the opposite direction. They've lost 5 and 6 apiece. We've won 3. Shout out to Portland for doing the same thing. If Portland was tanking, they're doing a terrible job at it too. They won 5 in a row. I don't know what Portland's doing here, but you can't say that we're tanking when we just swept Houston. We won 3 in a row. We'll probably win 4 in a row. Then we got a game with Charlotte. We got a game with Philly. We got a game with Miami. These are all winnable games. If we win 3 of the next 4 and win 6 out of 7, are we still tanking?
This is Sean Marks. I hope nobody plays poker with this guy because he will probably bankrupt you if you play poker with this guy. He lives on a high wire with this team every year. And the crazy thing is, other players may leave, like Kevin Durant, but this guy somehow manages to still be on this team as the GM. And he thinks he has 1,000 cat lives. He was on any other organization, Boston, Lakers, Clippers, he would have been fired. So I don't know how he's got this power to be on this team when he's this bad of a GM. It's insane. Like the fans are the ones that are getting screwed the most here. How can you put your faith in somebody that literally has the tools? He got lucky with that Big 3 debacle, 31 picks. Now we have potentially unlimited cap space, but he doesn't even know what to do with the tools. Like how can we work with somebody like that? I feel like we're at the end of our rope here with Sean Marks because at the end of the day, how can you put faith in somebody that's literally making the same mistakes over and over again when he literally has the easiest ways to get to the finish line? This guy can never get to a finish line with us.
You guys can root for the tank all you want. I'm not telling you not to root for the tank. I'm just telling you the Nets are not going for the tank. Like if you look at it, the Nets are closer to the play-in, I believe. Let me make sure I'm right here. They are for the play-in than they are catching Washington. Until they are catching the Hornets. No, that's not true. It's almost true. 3.5 to 4 games. Like they're caught between a rock and a hard place. If they can't catch Charlotte and New Orleans, they can't get a top 4 pick. They're going to be stuck 5 to 10. Why not just go for the play at that point? They're in a rough spot here. Like their chances of catching Washington now, of catching Charlotte, has just gone from slim to none.
We're not catching them.
Chicago is tanking. Chicago wants this. Chicago would love to give you the 10 seed. They'll just hand it to you. Do you want it? Can you win a couple of games to catch up? They might be able to. Right? With all these other bottom-dwelling teams in the East who Nets have games against, with them all tanking, the Nets can make a run and get into the play-in. I'm not saying they should. I'm not encouraging them to do so. I'm just saying it's a distinct possibility that they can get to that 10 seed with everyone else tanking. And I think Sean Marks sees that, and Sean Marks is like, "Oh, we look like a genius." Like, no, you won't, pal.
There's no strategy here, and you were right there at getting the 4th seed. So us being even anywhere near the play-in is ludicrous at this point. And I don't know what Joe Desai is doing, but how can you watch this as the owner and say this is exactly what we have to do? This is so normal. There's nothing normal about this. You're basically putting this whole organization on a high top, expecting no matter what happens, we're gonna get the 2 or 3 because these guys are Rutgers guys playing in our backyard. There's no guarantee. You have to play this right. And it seems that we're going against this and having Jordy, what Jordy's doing, he has really changed the trajectory of our team because this guy never wants to lose. He wants to win no matter who's on his team, and he's literally getting the results. Gary, I don't know if you heard last night, apparently a lot of these guys were extra motivated because he told them that Ime Udoka said, oh, this is a low-tier team, that they're going to get run through easily, and these guys were all motivated to prove something to Jordy. If Jordy's telling me that, say, you know what? That guy's just talking. I'm going to get a Cooper Flag or Ace on my team next year, and then I can kick their butts. But no, we want to play super hard for this guy. We're probably not going to be on this team in 2 to 3 years. But hey, at least we got these meaningless wins. We're getting a bag from somewhere. Yeah, probably G League. Like, it's insane to me how these guys have so much autonomy with Jordy that the GM and the owner are just sitting by and letting the dice roll where they may. This isn't Vegas. This is the NBA.
I want to address these 2 comments. Star Traffic says Sixers in Chicago won their last game. Hawks got the first pick last year despite having the 9th best chance. Yeah, you could try to win the lottery twice in a row. I mean, someone wins the lottery. You think you're going to win it twice in a row? Like, the odds of the 9th seed getting the number 1 pick is like slim to none. The only way we get a top 3 pick is if, like John said, Sean Marks has the word of Adam Silver and like, look, we want you to have one of these 3 guys, so we're going to rig the draft, which – guys, it's very possible. It's very possible the NBA draft is rigged. It's very possible. So I wouldn't rule it out. But us, winning or losing games isn't going to change that because the NBA already determined we're getting a top 3 pick. Right? Yeah. So as long as we don't make the playoffs, which we're not going to, because we'd have to win 2 play-in games, which we're not going to do, maybe they get a top 3 pick. And John, address Lou's question here. My question is, does trading Claxton help the tank? What will you get back? What will you get back? What you get back? Will what you get back help the tank?
I said this when we
went back Rui Hachimura and a pick, or just Rui. I don't even care. But go ahead, John.
When we first addressed this 2 to 3 streams ago, I said cap space. That is what you get out of this. You get Claxton's $60 remaining million off the books. You have more cap space flexibility. If we got Claxton and Johnson off this team for the next 2 to 3 years, we could plan out exactly how we could contend against. We'll have a lot of flexibility to get a superstar without having to consolidate bad contracts for no good reason to get that person. We would have the cap space to maybe sign somebody in 2026 free agency. But to keep these guys long and you have to, what's the point?
John, he's asking you right now, trading Claxton, getting Claxton off the roster, does it make you better or worse immediately?
Oh, it makes us worse because Claxton does give you some sort of defense, but having him right now he's trying to show you could do all these things because he probably doesn't want to get traded. But get him off the team. He hasn't helped us at all.
Don't have another big, right? Like Lou's trying to catch us. We're saying how bad Claxton is, but then we're saying trading him would make us worse. Look, it would make us worse because then we only have one big, Day'Ron Sharpe. Day'Ron Sharpe, who I don't think is the worst thing in the world. He's better than Claxton. Can play 25 minutes a game. What are you doing with the other 23 minutes a game? You don't have any other big, so you're going to lose. Now you're going to have to play Walmart, I guess, at the 5, right? Or you're going to have to bring up.
I'm very happy with that. I will gladly. I will say, Walmart guy, you have been promoted to the fruit section. Now you get to be the censor. Now you get to be the censor because we need you to be. But yeah,
if you trade Claxton, you have only one big, and it's Sharpe, who's hurt. So it makes you worse because you don't have another big now. You literally don't have one. So you'd have to either bring up Drew Timme, you have to buy someone out and call up Drew Timme from the G League, or you'd have to make Walmart guy your backup, your other big.
Right.
Either one of those are good options. So it would make you worse, Lou.
Right. And Lou, at the same time, we could keep Day'Ron on a cheaper contract and still have cap space flexibility. That's what should be the goal here. If keeping Claxton on the books doesn't help our future or help us eventually get a superstar because his value is going to be so bad. The biggest reason I'm so upset about this, if you keep both Johnson and Claxton, as long as they're on this team, their values are going to go down and down and down. And Mark's had golden opportunities, especially with Johnson, to get something decent back for him. But this is Mark's biggest problem is he always holds on to these players longer than he has to and says, oh, I need the same offer. Like, nobody's going to buy that. Everybody knows Sean Mark's shtick already, and it's boring.
So, John, let me ask you.
Mhm.
There's we'll address this first. I showed you the schedule. There is how many games left the Nets have? That is 50. There's 32 games left in the season. What does Sean Marks do? Does he try to win as many games as possible, or does he try to tank? What does Sean Marks do the last 32 games?
That's just it. He's not doing anything. He's letting the inmates run the asylum, and they want to win for Jordy. And here's the crazy thing: most of our remaining games are all at home, and the way these guys are playing at home, they do not want to lose. They have this pride, this innate pride together as a unit. Wherever this team is made of, and they're all like a full force right now, going through all these teams who are underestimating them. And these teams really don't care at the end of the day to underestimate them. They're still in a playoff situation. We aren't. So we're doing self-damage to ourselves because we have to believe in good vibes, strength through what this iteration is and culture. But that's not going to get you a top pick. This isn't 2019 anymore where we didn't have no picks. We had to consolidate something out of nowhere because that's all we had. Now you have your own picks. You could have been super strategic this season, and it seems like Marks is still stuck in the past. I'd rather a GM that actually knows how to go forward because with Sean Marks, we keep going backwards.
We're definitely not progressing. I don't know what Sean Marks has on Josiah. I don't, but he certainly seems to have the most secure job in America. And if you ask me, like, who is going to have the longest tenure of anyone on this Brooklyn Nets team, my answer is without a doubt Sean Marks. Like, he's the only one I'm confident will be here in 3 years.
Wild. It's wild to me. And if he still is, and we make this Giannis Zion move, and we're still nowhere, like we get as far as second round again, and that's it. Sean Marks will go down probably as one of the worst GMs of all time, just because he never learned from his mistakes. And I'd rather him try to finish the rebuild this year. He meets with Joe, and Joe's like, "Listen, Sean, you can still be part of my draft team, but I need an actual GM that actually knows what they're doing. I appreciate you, but no, this owner and him, they're in cahoots together, thinking that they're smarter than everybody else, when really their NBA experience is not that big when you look at both of them as individuals, and that's a huge problem."
If you ask me right now, I think he's going to save Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton on the roster. Then we're going to get to the offseason, and he's going to look to move those guys together in a trade for a superstar, or at least one of them. And that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with whatever star he can get and the seventh pick in the draft. And that's what we're going to have.
That's what it feels like. And at the end of the day, I think the Zion thing, as much as I'm against it, with the Giannis thing, that's like going all in, and we just kind of feel that Marks is not going to construct a good roster. At least with Zion, you have 3 years to see what he could do, what he could reclaim, and his money's not guaranteed. So if I'm looking at those two guys, the Zion thing doesn't seem as bad because you get off of Johnson and Claxton's money, you take on Zion to see if he could give you something, and if he doesn't, you let him go without keeping the money on the books. But still, you gave up assets. So at the end of the day, like you said, Gary, if we're stuck in hell and we don't get a top 3 pick, we might have to make a devil's bargain to try to get out of it, because this is what Sean Marks did to us. It's not that me and Gary are trying to be negative for no damn reason. We care about Brooklyn. We want them to be a great team. But to see a GM and owner make the same damn mistakes over and over again, it has to get you upset as a fan. You can't have this blind faith that, we got the 31 picks back, everything's fine and dandy again. No, it's how are you going to make this team better? And it seems like Marks is stuck again.
I want to address this. Look, getting rid of Claxton is the most beneficial because he's on a horrible contract. That's what is beneficial about it. He'll have more value playing with the Lakers because he could pick and roll with Luka. He'll be better there. He'll have more value there. He'll be able to help the Lakers more than he helps the Nets. I want to address this in a second. But
here we go.
I want to address that in a second. But the key, yes, I want to bring Rui in. Does Rui make the Nets better immediately? Like, that's a whole debate. But like, I could just not play Rui. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And he's got 1 year left on his deal. It's getting Claxton off the books. Do you want Claxton on the roster 3 years from now making $20+ million? The answer is obviously not, right? So you got to get him off the roster. The same thing with Cam Johnson. You got to get him off the roster. And you had every good opportunity. From all reports, there were a minimum of 11 teams that checked in about Cam Johnson. Get all 11 options and take the best one. Right? Like when you're buying a house and you put all these different offers in, and then one of them, or if you're selling a home and you get 11 offers and you need to sell your home because you need to move for work or whatever, you don't say no to all of them and stay in your house. Like, I have a bigger plan. I have to move for my job, right? You have to take one of the 11 offers, even if it's not ideal. That's what the Nets had to do with Cam Johnson. And would some people have complained, oh, we could have gotten more, or there were one of the other 10 offers were better? Yeah, probably. Someone probably would have complained. But you would have solved the problem. You would have gotten off of Cam Johnson, the depreciating asset that you don't want, right? That is no good to you. But instead, we kept him. I was saying you had to trade these guys before the season started. I don't really care what you get for them. Just get expiring salaries and whatever else you can get. That's it. Just get anyone who has less than 2 years left on his deal, next year and this year or less, and whatever picture you can get. Other than that, I don't care. There was a time where you probably could have gotten a little bit of value for Cam Johnson. He was averaging 20 points a game almost on efficient shooting. Someone would have taken him. Now that time has passed. And you can see that time has passed because there's no more interest in him. That's it. No one's calling anymore. Everyone's kind of set. And Sean Marks just waited on this too long. His timing and his assessment of talent is the worst I've ever seen. I'm going to let John respond to that. But Gary, what franchise has been run better in your lifetime, the Jets or the Nets? God, oh man!
Take your time, Gary. We got all day. We got all day. You can take your time on this one.
The Jets or the Nets? I'm going to say the Nets because at least the Nets had Rod Thorne for that era. And Rod Thorne did a really good job. But the Jets, I'm going to say the Nets, but not by much. Not by much. The Jets are an absolute disaster. The Jets haven't made the playoffs in 14 years. The Nets ain't ever going to have a streak like that. 14 years they haven't made the playoffs. I'm not talking about win a playoff game, go to a comp. No, just make the playoffs. The Jets haven't done that in 14 years. The Jets are the right answer. They've been run worse. The Nets have been run slightly better. But John, address the Rui trade for Claxton, and I got to go take a leak.
All right, enjoy a leak. But yeah, guys, listen. At the end of the day, we still have till 3:00 tomorrow, right? Sean Marks still has some time, and maybe tonight he'll have his Ebenezer Scrooge moment. He'll be visited by his ghosts of his past, present, and future, and then wake up tomorrow and say, hey, you know what? Hey, Claxton has all the team as soon as possible, and the Lakers deal gets done with Rui, Gabe Vincent a first, and Johnson gets traded to maybe the Spurs for Kellen Johnson at a pick, or Memphis who has Marcus Smart in draft capital. Either one of those deals I'm very fine with. If both these guys are traded off the team by tomorrow before 3, our cap space flexibility should be really good going the next 2 to 3 years. I understand maybe keeping him on for a superstar deal, but what is the depth going to be? And Cam Thomas' future? I know so many Brooklyn fans want him to be on our future, but if you make the move for a Giannis or Zion, Thomas is on the clock where he has to show you he could be a cornerstone piece, or like Gary and Dylan have said in the past, he could be an asset to get you another star player team with Giannis. But Giannis has his own clock on when he wants to win a title. So there's a lot of moving factors if you go down that route. Now, if you trade Johnson or Claxton, we could do this tank route a little more properly, have next year as well to draft another top player. Then after that, the field is very open for us to go a whole bunch of different routes. But will Marks actually do it? This news of him just sitting on his hands, not doing nothing, taking the calls, but not making them. Look what Danny Ainge is doing. This guy's got his hand in all these different cookie jars, getting second-round picks, expiring contracts. But you know why? He's preparing for the possibility of a Cooper Flag being drafted by him if he has the first pick, and he has all these assets, and he's got his star prospect to build a team like they do with Wemby when they got De'Aaron Fox. But we don't have a superstar prospect. No disrespect to Cam Thomas, but he still has a lot of ways to grow himself, and we still have to figure out who we're drafting. No, we don't know who we're drafting at this point. The more games you win, there's like a chance you're going from top 3 to maybe 5, 6, 7, or 8, and that guarantees you nothing. So if Marks wakes up tomorrow with a different conscience and actually trades Claxton for Rui Vincent and a pick and trades Johnson to the Spurs of Memphis for a player and a pick, we are in a great direction. We are right where we should be. But until 3 p.m. tomorrow, who knows what Mark's going to do? But after 3 p.m., if he does nothing, what me and Gary are saying today is not as trying to be negative or hateful of Marks. We're just calling it as we see it. Hey, welcome back, Gary.
What is your gut telling you? We're about 25, 26 hours from the trade deadline. Is Sean Marks going to do anything in that window? Is he going to, or is the roster going to look exactly the same tomorrow at 3 p.m. as it looks right now?
The way it's looking is not doing nothing, but it seems everybody's waiting for this KD Jimmy Butler stuff to, coincide. And however, if it goes down tonight, then from tonight till 3 p.m. tomorrow, maybe teams will call Marks and maybe raise their offer up slightly. I don't think they're going to meet his demands, but they're going to say, Marks, you just saw what just happened. We need a Cam Johnson. Maybe we'll give you some extra seconds and a prospect. And if Marks still does want to agree to that, all he has to blame is himself, because that's a BS move at that point. If a team needs Johnson, they're willing to give you a little bit more than what they originally were going to give you. It's not what you completely want, but it's something close to it, and you still don't want it. That's a failure on him as a leader. So I think this Jimmy KD thing will exactly tell the league and, our situation with our players if a team's going to call, maybe raise their offer up slightly. But if this deal gets done last minute tomorrow, Marks isn't doing nothing at that point. So I think you're hoping tonight this big blockbuster deal gets done and we have some time for some teams to call us. But just the way it's looking, Gary, it doesn't look like Marks is encouraged to make any moves, which I think is a massive failure.
Yeah, it's a massive failure. And I was fair on his first two trades. I was fair on the D'Angelo Russell trade. I was fair on the Dennis Schroeder trade. I gave him like a B and a B plus for those two trades. I thought it was fairly good work. Yeah, I'm not just hating on Sean Marks for the sake of hating on Sean Marks. I'm just pointing out that he's absolutely horrible at his job. And since he's horrible at his job, he makes my team a train wreck with no hope. And since he makes my team a train wreck with no hope, I hate him. I hate him. Like I have three teams, right? The Nets, the Mets, and the Jets. By far and away of those three sports, basketball is my favorite, and the Nets are my favorite of those three teams. Like I love the Nets. Like they're my baby. I flew across the country to go watch the Nets start 5 G League players because I love the Brooklyn Nets. Watching this is painful, but what's even more painful is knowing that there's no hope and that Sean Marks can't get us out of this hole. Right? It's like having a drunk skipper trying to steer your boat back on course. It's not going to work. Right? You got to remove the skipper. But you can't. There's one person in this world that thinks Sean Marks is good at his job. You know who that is? Joe Tsai. And you know what? It's the only one that matters. No one else's opinions really matters. Joe Tsai thinks he's doing a great job, and he's going to be here forever.
And that just feels like doomsday in a sense, because these two guys, their NBA experience is not all that worldly. I know Sean Marks played basketball a little bit here or there, and he learned from the Spurs. This guy has Spurs connections, a team that won 5 titles, a dynasty, and he couldn't really take anything from that. He did the KD, Kyrie, and James thing, but when he couldn't even control that, then he pivoted to Mid-Cal and Johnson. That went to hell, and then he pivoted to whatever this is, and even then he still thinks this is something. It's nothing. Yes, these guys are all fighting for money. They're all fighting for future contracts. They're not fighting for this team. They're not fighting for our future draft assets. They're not fighting for our future. They're fighting for their own future. And Jordy is just allowing that to happen because he wants to stack his resume. And Marks and Joe, who are financially secure right now, like you said, they just let everything happen. It's just such an imbalance. We don't have a hierarchy. We don't have an organization. We have discombobulation, and that's nothing. It feels like we're a spoof movie right now with the way this is going down, and I hate that for our future. I want the Brooklyn fans out there to be excited when we draft a top prospect. We do make the move for a superstar. The fans are filling up the Barclays, and we're all there cheering the team on and just reveling in the success. But we have to get there, and Marks hasn't even got us out of first gear yet since we've gone through all this, and it's just unfortunate. It feels like if this is rigged system, okay, so be it. But me and Gary were still staying to the facts that Marks has made more bad decisions than good decisions. And if this draft fails, this will go down as the worst decision, worse than the Heart of a Ben thing, because you had your own pick and you let it go to hell. That can't stand if that's the way if the cards fall, unfortunately.
You want to touch base on some of these other trades that have gone down overnight and this morning?
Sure.
What I found most interesting, and I got some clarity on it now, was Boston basically gave away Jared Springer, who is a guy, I think Jaden Springer has some upside, but that's a very deep roster. It's hard to crack, but they gave him up for a couple of second-round picks. It was Celtics traded Springer and their 2030 second to the Houston Rockets. Both teams are exchanging a heavily protected second rounder. So they basically gave him a guy that I think has some upside. But why would they do that? Kevin Smith just reported Boston moving Jade Springer is about opening an additional roster spot and reducing their tax bill roughly $15 million in actual dollars saved by the Celtics in this move before signing a replacement player. Well, it's an economic move. Is why they get rid of him. Houston takes a flyer. I don't think it's a flyer. I think he's a decent player. How good is he going to be? I don't know, but I think he's a rotational guy. And picks up additional asset by running out some room under the tax. So that was fun.
That's a missed opportunity. We could have done Day'Ron for Springer in those picks. They would have bought out Day'Ron and still saved money. It's like that would have been a perfect moment to get something out of nothing. And even look at the PJ Tucker deal that happened with Utah and the Clippers. I would have sent D'Lo to them, get Tucker, get Highland, get some second picks, and they could buy out, D'Lo and be under the luxury tax and actually could sign players to the minimum contract. We could have done that, but we didn't. Like Danny Ainge, the guy who's taking advantage of all these opportunities. And Marks can't even learn a lesson from him on how to be effective. Those little moves are we were supposed to do whether you're rebuilding or contending. And we're like way down there in the rebuilding mode. And Marks thinks that he's going to get magical 2 first-round picks. Like you can't be a boss and expect things like that. You have to be flexible. Yes, take calls, I understand, for your top assets, but you got to make calls too. These teams are all making calls because they either have to stay in contention or they're trying to rebuild effectively. And you can't just sit on the backside expecting them to come to you and give you what you want. That's not how the real world works.
John, you wanna the Kyle Kuzma, Chris Middleton trade, the KJ Martin trade. You want to touch on those and just go over those real quick with the listeners?
Yeah, the KJ Martin thing. Listen, Philly's had a horrible season, a horrible, disgusting, nasty season. The George and Embiid duo, that's not going to do much in the long term. They have Maxey, so they can rebuild eventually. But it seems like they're trying to do some cost-affecting things. They got under the luxury tax, too, after trading away KJ Martin picks to Detroit. They also did the Martin move. So they did that to get on the luxury tax and have flexibility. So smart of Philly, but this situation is tough. The Bucks won with Kyle Kuzma and Chris Middleton. Big move on the Bucks' part. Another piece of your championship away. Middleton's been injured, hasn't been effective as much. Kuzma, I mean, this guy was good with the Lakers, but really his stock's gone down. I don't see this as like a game changer for the Bucks. And if the Bucks make more moves like consolidate Portis, Lopez, and Connaughton for another piece, you're left with like a 4, 5, 6-man rotation around Giannis and Dame. So I just think it's questionable that the Bucks are doing this, but if Giannis is going down in flames, he's going down swinging with whoever is on that team. But I just see the Bucks facing an inevitable rebuild. I just don't think a Kuzma Middleton swap is a big move really for the Bucks, and they really don't have assets to make big moves. So if that's the best they can do,
they don't have any picks, they don't have any players, they don't really have anything.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it, Gary? What are your thoughts on it?
At first, I was like, why the hell would they want Kuzma? Kuzma's horrible. He's having a terrible season. He makes a good chunk of money. And okay, you came up Middleton. Look, it's a desperation move, right? They're like, right now, what we have with Middleton isn't working. It's not going to get us to the conference finals. What if we take a swing? What if we try this thing with Middleton? It can't. It's not really going to make us worse. Maybe Kuzma can get back to where he was a couple of years ago. Who knows? If it doesn't work, it's no worse than Middleton. If it works, maybe we got something. So I don't hate the trade. I just feel like it's like you said, Milwaukee's got no other options.
Right.
So, like I always say, there's not always a winning move on the chessboard, but there is a best move. Like no matter how bad your situation is, there's always a best move on the chessboard. Like what's the best move that can just give me a little bit of life and maybe someone else screws up. Perhaps this is that move, right? Like it's Kyle Kuzma. I wouldn't expect too much, but without it, you don't have any chance because you weren't winning with what you have currently, and you don't have any cap space or picks to make any other moves. So this is kind of what you're stuck with.
Right. And here's the thing. They also traded A.J. Johnson, who I think was their most recent first-round pick, which a lot of people were surprised at. They thought Johnson could have been a young part of the future if they ever broke it up. Now you're stuck with that A.J. Green kid who's a great three-point marksman, but you just traded away future youth, and you traded away a veteran championship player with a pick. It was a 2028 pick. It's owed to Portland, so it's not really a huge pick that they gave Washington. Washington just took on the pick, but it's still owed to Portland. So they really gave away a lot for Kuzma. You gave away a 3-point, veteran bench piece that won you a title, and you gave away a young prospect too. So this Kuzma move has to really be significant to work out for them. But like Gary says, it's not a huge move. What are you stuck with? Now, here's the thing. They're under the luxury tax now. Now, if they want to make a crazy move for Jimmy Butler, they can consolidate Lopez, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton to match the salary to make it happen. But if you do that, you're stuck with a Giannis, Dame, and Butler and whatever the hell is left. So you have to sign a lot of minimum contracts in a short period of time and hope that that gets you something. Just the way it looks, the Bucks are facing never rebuild. So if they go for the Butler move, they're just trying to deny the inevitable for as long as possible. So yeah, I just don't see it working out for him. Now, meanwhile, this KD Jimmy Butler stuff with Draymond, Gary, where is this leading? Is this leading anywhere? Will Butler eventually get traded to the Suns, or will KD actually be traded today?
Well, you're the trade guy. What are your thoughts on that? What is there any news and any thoughts on that?
It's all over the place. The way Brian Windhorst was talking today, it makes him believe that there's a real chance that if Bradley Beal goes nowhere, and it was reported last night that Bradley Beal right now is not going anywhere. He's not waived his trade clause, and he is staying a Phoenix Sun. Now you look at their record; they're facing OKC tonight. They lose with less than 30 games to go. They're a 500 team. The most expensive team in the NBA, being a 500 team, is one of the worst things you could ever imagine possible. So this Kevin Durant being available is literally a huge, I don't know if you want to call it a short gap or a huge over gap, but if you trade Kevin Durant to the Warriors and apparently Jimmy Butler might go to the Suns, that's just weird. So you wanted to pair Butler with KD, but you wound up swapping KD to the Warriors and Jimmy to the Suns. It's just weird to me. I don't get it. A Booker, Butler, Bradley Beal trio, that does nothing for me. And then if you have Curry with KD and you make a move for Nikola Vucic and Draymond, if Draymond's traded to the Suns too, a Vucic, Curry, KD alignment defensively, that's just horrible. I just think whoever this deal shakes out, this crazy deal that might have KD now, I just feel like a lot of teams are trying to swap bad contracts or big contracts to try to make something happen because of what happened with Luka. And like you said, Gary, the ratings have been so bad now. All these teams are like, I got to make a big move. I got to make a big move. Who cares if we win a title or not, but the ratings are going to go through the roof. That's just such a messy way to play basketball. If you're not winning a championship and you think jumping to play with all-star buddies will win you a title, most likely you're just denying, again, the inevitable. So I don't know how this is going to go, but if a Draymond's going to the Suns and a KD's going to the Warriors, and a Butler goes to the Suns, I just don't see how either sides are winning. You literally have bad contracts, aging veterans, and you're hoping that you change one with the other, you're going to have a different outcome. I just don't see the outcome changing, no matter who gets traded here.
The last thing I want to touch on is tomorrow is the big show. What time? We have the Wizards game tonight. Then tomorrow is the big show. I'm going to send out a bunch of invites. What time do you want to start going live tomorrow? The trade deadline is at, what is it, 3 or 4?
Yeah, I think we all agreed at 5. Dylan said he'll be available at 5, and LBL, he said he'd come on. If we could get 2 more people that want to come on, just have a panel of 6. We don't want to get any higher than that, but if there's 2 more people that want to join for a little 6-man panel just to discuss all the deals that go on, because we're going to evaluate it. And here's the thing, we just say what are the best trade deals that happen and what are the worst ones. We're definitely going to evaluate it as a whole and if Brooklyn does anything or not. But definitely tomorrow is going to be a fun blockbuster panel that we're probably going to do around 5 o'clock. So definitely tune in and we'll let you know how that all shakes out. So it's going to be a fun one tomorrow.
If you would have told me 2 months ago that Cam Johnson would still be on the roster, I would have said there's no way. There's no way. Ain't no way. And now Cam Johnson is almost certainly going to be on the roster. I think Claxton will certainly be on the roster. I think the only one that may be traded is Sharp to the Clippers for a second round pick or whatever.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Whatever.
What was the trade? Bones Highland in a second. You said that worked?
Yeah, for Day'Ron Sharpe. But at the end of the day, if you need a backup and you're giving a young aspiring prospect in a second pick, it's better than nothing at this point. But still, if that's the best you can do, you trade Day'Ron, D'Lo, and Dennis Schroeder for a bag of Funyuns and D'Lo jerseys, and that's great job. That's horrible. If I was the owner and that's what my GM does, you're getting fired. There's no way that you can say that's good work. I wouldn't approve of something like that if I was a boss or an owner. It's just crazy.
Like, you guys are confident in this rebuild. Like, if we get a top 3 pick, like, we have Sean Marks. I don't understand how you're rebuilding if Sean Marks is the guy in charge. He can't build. He has no vision. He doesn't know what he's doing. That's what I'm saying. You might as well just trade for a superstar, because at least if you have a superstar, now you know what you need to do. Just put pieces around that superstar. You guys want to draft an 18-year-old and think that Sean Marks is going to do what R.C. Buford did or what Sam – it's no. Sean Marks isn't good enough. He's not smart enough. He's not astute enough to build a winning team over a sustained amount of time. He's not good at his job. It's just the reality of the matter. It's like you have to work with what you have, and we have Sean Marks. So we might as well trade for a superstar because that's easy. Right? Like you can do that. That's taking the easy way out. But Sean Marks can't rebuild from the bottom. He can't do what Presti did. He can't take a bad team. Like I guess it was 2021 season. Oklahoma was really bad. And within a year or two, they were good again. Sean Marks can't do that. Not with all the draft capital in the world could Sean Marks do that. He can't do it. He's not smart enough. He's not good enough. So you got to play the hand you're dealt.
And at this point, Kevin Durant, when he was here, he was the boss. Joe Tsai and Sean were just there to be there, and Katie was running the whole ship. And if Kyrie and James would have been committed to the process, we probably would have won with GM Katie. But if you go for Giannis, he's likely going to have a huge say over pretty much everything we do. And unfortunately, I don't want a superstar to control everything. But at this point, if Sean and Joe aren't doing anything, at least with Giannis, you know he's going to show up every day, work his ass off, and try to get the wins. It's just who's going to be around him. And if he has to have the autonomy, because it seems like the coaches and the players have all the autonomy and the owners and the GM are just there to be there, then if that's the worst we can do in a bad situation, we have to live with it at this point. If there's no way out of this, we might have to make a bargain deal with somebody like that. But at least with Giannis, you know he's going to compete, but it doesn't make your future better. You're basically banking on one guy to carry you to the promised land. As you've seen in the NBA, that rarely happens unless you're LeBron James or Michael Jordan, and we don't have either one of those players on our team.
Well, I wanted to address this. I missed the New Jersey Nets too, Yeti. I want to address this comment, and then we'll wrap it up. Blanket trying to save his job. The Luka trade had nothing to do with Nico, and it had nothing to do with Planka. This was a trade that was made between the two owners. It was made in the middle of the night. It was made on a Saturday, so it couldn't be reported. This was prepackaged. This was pre-planned. I kind of touched on this yesterday, and I'm in Texas. I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so this is home to me. I can kind of explain to you why this trade was done real quick, BC. So when the Adelson family bought the Mavericks from Cuban, they bought it for one reason: to bring gambling to Texas. They want to build they've already brought the land. They bought 108 acres of where Texas Stadium used to be, where the Cowboys played before Jerry World, right? So it's in Irving, it's in suburban Dallas. They have 108 acres of land that they're going to build the hotel, resort, casino on. Right? So it's a casino, a hotel, it's a resort, and a basketball arena all in one. The only problem is they've had no luck getting gambling legalized in Texas. They tried in 2021 to get it on the ballot. They couldn't do it. They tried again in 2023. They couldn't do it. They tried again in 2025. And once it became obvious it wasn't going on the ballot again in 2025, the next day they traded Luka. Okay? So this is not about the Mavs. This is not about basketball. This is about the Adelson family saying either you legalize gambling in Texas, and Texas by itself is like the 9th largest economy in the world, and it has no casinos, no gambling at all. So they're looking at this as a gold mine, like the biggest untapped amount of money you can make possibly. Like no one, we would have all of the casinos in Texas, one, right? So that's what they're looking at. They don't care about the Mavs. They don't care about Luka. They don't care about winning. They want to build a casino. So what they're doing is saying either you pass gambling, you legalize gambling in Texas, or we're going to move the Mavs to Vegas. And that's what they're doing, right? Right now, Dallas is the 5th largest television market in the country. If they went, and their ratings are good and their attendance is really good, if they went to the NBA and said, we're going to move the team to Vegas, the NBA would shoot it down in a second. Like, you're not taking a team out of the 5th largest television market and moving it to the 40th. But if you tank the team, if you trade away Luka, and you drive down attendance, and you drive down the television ratings, and then you go to the NBA and say, look, we're not getting any ratings here. We're not selling any tickets. We have to move the team. Then the NBA is likely to do it. That's exactly what you're seeing here. This is a strategic move to tank the Mavericks, and it's a warning shot. We traded Luka. Either you give us our casino, or we're moving to Vegas. And that's where we're at right now. So the trade had nothing to do with Pelinka. It had nothing to do with LeBron James. It had nothing to do with Nico Harrison. It had nothing to do with any of that. This was a trade that was done between two owners, and from the Mavericks' perspective, it had nothing to do with basketball.
Wow. And there's a lot of validity to what Gary's saying. I mean, this whole casino stuff, like it seems like something they're very focused on wanting to do, and they have the money to do so. But at the same time with Luka as well, if you're not conditioned well, gives him a lot more easy route to throw at you because he does have that. So even if that's not the full reason why they did it, Gary's reasoning makes a lot of sense. But also at the same time, it seems the owners are starting to fight back against the players. You got Pat Riley putting Jimmy Butler in his place. Now you got Nico trading Luka away. It's like at the same time, this has been a players' league the last few years, and that's a huge reason ratings have gone down. Because all these superstars sign the big contracts and they don't want to commit to it and get traded midway through the contract, and that kills ratings. So there's a whole lot of factors considered. But what Gary's saying could be a huge reason why. And at the end of the day, if ratings are this bad and you trade superstars away, this is just kind of what you're stuck with at this point. Owners want what they want. Players want what they want, and eventually this could lead to some type of mini civil war because if stars don't get their way and owners don't get their way, you get stuff like this, which could have huge ramifications on the future of the NBA. And before we end, Gary, it seems that there was a trade made from Lowe. Apparently, Lowe reported something that the OKC traded for Daniel Tice from the Pelicans. Apparently, wow, another non Cam Johnson move from OKC. Very interesting.
Yeah, it is what it is, John. It's a not Cam Johnson trade. Well, you got the details of the trade. What's the details of the trade?
I don't have the details right now. If I leave, I'll be out of the show, but I'll look at it afterwards and I'll let you know. It was probably a second round pick for Daniel Tice. I mean, I don't know how that guy's still in the league, but he probably got a second pick. And Sam Presti, at the end of the day, you are drunk on draft picks. I get it. You think you're a genius right now, but if you waste a Shea MVP season, you let these Luka bombshells, De'Aaron bombshells eventually fester, and you don't win this year, all because you don't want to make the Cam Johnson move. You have nobody to blame but yourself. Kenrich Williams, now Daniel Tice, and Ousmane Dieng are not going to be playing main minutes in a playoff series. You just got three players that are not going to do much. So if Shea doesn't carry you this season, you're going to look back and be like, wow, I really screwed this up. It's just crazy, the moves he's making, these small itty-bitty moves.
Boy, Dylan checks in. OKC got second round picks and Tice.
Wait, OKC got picks and Tice? I don't want to ask. So the Pelicans wanted him off that team so badly, they gave OKC more draft picks and another contract. What is going on here? Like, how does OKC doing this? This is crazy.
Nate checking in.
Hey, Nate.
What's good, fam? What's good, Nate? Nothing with the Nets is good right now, Nate. Nothing is good right now. Nothing. After we win today, we'll have 4 in a row, and we will be buyers. We will be buyers tomorrow. I can't believe this has shaked out like it has. It looked so good a week ago. It looked so good. We had all these losses, right? We were like, okay, if we can just lose to Charlotte, which seems like forever ago. It was a few days ago we beat Charlotte. If we could just beat Charlotte, if we just lose to Charlotte, we'll be in great shape. And now we've won 3 in a row, and I think we're not trading Cam. We're not trading Claxton. And, like, this is what we're going with. I think once Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson come back, I truly believe that Sean Marks is going to be all in on trying to get that 10 spot.
This is a spoof movie writing itself, and I'm going to play into what Gary's saying. If we're buyers tomorrow, Zion Williamson gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow. This will continue the spoof we are seeing right now. Imagine if that happens. I want to see everybody's reactions if that happens, because at the end of the day, if Marks is committed to being right near a play-in, make a move for Zion because you want to win eventually, okay, it doesn't make any sense, but in Mark's world, nothing makes sense. So we become surprise buyers. That would be a move that nobody or some people should see coming because Zion wants out, but Marks, wants to do whatever it takes to screw a rebuild up. So there you go. Have fun with that if that happens.
All right, y'all. Appreciate everyone coming by. Appreciate you, fam. We'll be back tomorrow at 5, you said?
Yep, 5 o'clock.
And we'll have a complete recap of everything that Sean Marks failed to do and why he's the worst GM in the history of professional sports. All right, y'all. It's February. Oh, John, tell them where they can find you.
Gary, great show. I think everybody enjoyed the Sean Marks roast. And if you didn't, eventually, if he upsets you, you can look at this as a a coping session, how we all cope with Sean Marks' delusions of grandeur. But if you ever want to talk fun basketball, you can follow him on Twitter at OS91413John. And like Gary said, tomorrow, 5 o'clock, deadline, post-deadline special. We'll definitely let you know everything that happened, and we'll see if Sean Marks actually did something or he woke up from his sleep. So enjoy, guys. It's going to be a fun one.
All right, y'all. It's February 5th, 2025, from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.
Peace.